Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to this video titled Greatest Common Factor. Now you will need to get out your math journal and a pencil. So the goal for this video is for you to understand how to find the greatest common factor of two whole numbers. Now let's take a look at some key vocabulary terms that we're going to be going over during this video. You'll want to write these words down and their definitions. So first of all, greatest common factor, GCF. And GCF was invented before LOL or TTFN, TATA for now, and those types of abbreviations that we use in texting, or LOL or BFF, those types of things. So GCF of two numbers is the greatest factor shared by those numbers. So you'll want to write that down. And then when you think about what a factor is a number that divides evenly into another number, or a number that can be multiplied to get another number. For example, 2 and 3 are both factors of 6. So in other words, 2 can be multiplied by another number to get to 6. 3 can be multiplied by another number, which is 2, to get to 6. And also, 2 can go evenly into 6, and 3 can go evenly into 6. It is always important to understand that a number can have multiple factors, and it's always important to understand that the first factor that you always begin with each number is 1 and itself, because any number times 1 can be any number. When you multiply any number times 1, it's always that original number. 1 can go into every number. And then obviously, if we're looking at the number 6, 6 times 1 would equal 6, so 6 would be a factor of itself. So it's important to understand that 1 in the number itself is always a factor of that original number. So let's say I'm trying to find the greatest common factor of 40 and 48. I need to first of all figure out the factors of each number, and then I can compare the list of factors for 40 and 48 to find the greatest common factor. So first of all, if I'm taking a look at 40, I always start out with the number 1 in itself. So I write 1 on the left side and 40 on the right side. So I like to make a table like this. And so I have 1 times 40 gives me 40. And then I think about 2. I know that any even number can be divided by 2, or 2 can go into any even number. So I think about 2 times 20 gives me 40. I know 3 doesn't work, 4 does work. 4 times 10 gives me 40. And I think about the next number, 5. 5, I know 5 times 8 gives me 40. All right, now I have 6 would be my next number. That does not go into 40. 7 would be my next number. That does not go into 40. I already have 8 right there, and since I already have 8 there, that means there's not any other number that we need to keep going through, because whenever you have a 5 on the left and an 8 on the left, the only other two numbers that you can deal with is a 6 and a 7. Okay, so now, no matter which side of my table, all of these are factors of 40. So I can list them out. So I have 1, I like to list them in order, 2, 4, 5, 8, 10, 20, and finally 40. So those are all my factors of 40. Remember, these are all numbers that can be multiplied by another number to get to 40, or these are all numbers that can go evenly into 40. So let's take a look at 48 now. So I have 1 and 48. I always start out with 1 in the original number. 2 times 24 can go into 48. 3 into 16. I'm sorry, 3 times 16. 4 times 12 gives me 48. 5 does not go into 48. I know that any number that ends in 5 or 0, 5 goes into, and 48 is not that number. My next number would be 6. Any even number, and also a number that can be divided by 3, 6 can go into. So it's not any even number. 3 has to go into it, and if it's even, 6 can go into it as well. So 6 times 8 gives me 48. Now the only other number I need to worry about is 7, because I have a 6 there and an 8, and I just need to think about 7. 7 does not go into 48. So these are all my factors of 48. No matter which side of the table it's on, they're all factors. Okay, so I'm going to write my factors down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. You can see I go down my list and kind of snake back up. 8, 12, 16, 24, and then finally 48. Now my next step is to find the greatest common factor. So greatest means the greatest number. Common means it's in both lists. And then factor, we know, is a number that can go into each 40 and 48. So I just like to take a look at my 1 list. So I have a 1 there and a 1 there, a 2 and a 2. These are all common factors, not greatest though. 4 and 4. There's not a 5 there. Here's an 8 and an 8. 10 is not in this list. 20 is not in this list. 40 is not in this list. So I can see my greatest common factor, okay, the greatest number that's in both lists, of 40 and 48, whoops, GCF, is 8. Okay, so make a table, list the factors of each number, and then you can find the greatest common factor of these two numbers is 8. So let's take a look at another number, and I would like you to do this with me. So we have 10 and 45. Okay, so I like to make a table like I did before, or you can even just have a line there, not even necessarily a table. So whenever we're doing the greatest common factor, or finding the factors of a number, you always start with 1 and that original number, so 1 and 10. And then I know that 2 goes in any even number, so 2 and 5. So now I have 2 and 5. The only other numbers I need to worry about are 3 and 4. Okay, because I have a 2 there and a 5 there. We're not going to go any greater than this number on the right side and any less than the number on the left side. So 3 does not go into 10. 4 does not go into 10. So my factors for 10 are 1, 2, 5, and 10. Let's take a look at 45. Always start out with the number 1 and 45. 2 does not go into 45. 3 does. 3 times 15. Now we think about 4. We know 4 does not go into 45. 5 does. Any number that ends in 5 or 0, 5 goes into. So 5 times 9 gives me 45. Now I need to think about 6, 7, and 8. 6 does not go into 45. 7 does not. 8 does not. So now I have my factors listed out of 1, 3, 5, 9, 15, and 45. You want to write these out. Now it's time to compare my list of factors. So I have 1 and 1. I have 2. There's not a 2 there. I have a 5. There's a 10 there. No other 10. So I can see the greatest common factor, the greatest number that's in both lists, is 5. So G, C, F of 10 and 45 is 5. So this is going to be another type of problem that we'll go over in tomorrow's lesson, where we're going to need to write the sum of the numbers as the product of their GCF and another sum. Okay, so what this means is that I need to find, first of all, the greatest common factor of these two numbers. I'm not going to show you how to do that in the video. We already went over that. I know the GCF of these two numbers is 8. Okay? So now if I'm writing the sum of the numbers as the product of their GCF and another sum, okay, what I would do to set this up, first of all, on the outside of my equation, I have my greatest common factor. And then what I'm doing is I'm multiplying this by, I think about 8 times what gives me 56, and that's going to give me 7. And then 8 times what gives me 64, that gives me 8, so 7 times 8. Okay, so if I take 8 times 7, that gives me 56, 8 times 64, I'm sorry, 8 times 8 is 64. Okay, so that's how I set that up. What that means is that will equal 8 times, I just add my 7 and 8 together, 15. Okay, so that is writing the sum of the numbers as a product of their GCF and another sum. Okay, so this is the greatest common factor, and we're getting the 7 and the 8 because 8 goes into 7, and also 8 times 7 is 56, 8 times 8 is 64. So let's take a look at another one. So let's say we have 30 and 54. Greatest common factor of 30 and 54 is 6. So that means when I'm writing this out, I have a 6 on the outside, multiplying it by two numbers. Okay, and where do I get these two numbers from? 30 divided by 6 gives me 5. 54 divided by 6 gives me 9. And that is going to equal 6 times, and what I do is I just add these two numbers together to get my number, 14. Okay, so that means when I multiply 6 times 14, that gives me 84. And also when you add 30 and 54 together, that will also give you 84. So this concludes the video on greatest common factor. If you have any questions about this concept, please let me know.